What if your heart has been quietly struggling, and you've been dismissing the signs as something normal, not a dramatic collapse, not a sudden emergency, but small, subtle changes happening every single day that most people never connect to their heart? Because here's what I've learned after years of working with patients. Heart problems don't always begin with intense chest pain or a medical emergency. In many cases, the body starts giving warnings much earlier, gentle signals, easy to ignore, easy to explain away. My energy is just lower now. I'm getting older. I've been under a lot of stress. And sometimes, those explanations are true, but sometimes, they're not. I've spent over 2 decades helping patients understand what their bodies are trying to tell them, especially when the signs are quiet. And one of the most common things I see is people living with early warning signs of heart strain for months or even years without realizing it, not because they don't care about their health, but because no one ever showed them what to look for. Today, that changes. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 8 early signs that your heart may be under stress. Signs that many people experience every day without thinking twice. For each one, I'll explain what people usually assume it is, what could actually be happening inside the body, and when it might be time to take a closer look. Because the earlier you recognize these signals, the more options you have to protect your health. Not long ago, I sat down with a patient who, at first glance, seemed completely fine. He was 64 years old, still active, took pride in staying independent, no major complaints. He came in for what he called just a routine check. But as we started talking, I asked him a simple question. How has your energy been lately? He paused for a moment, then said, "Honestly, I get tired a lot faster than I used to, but I figured that's just age." Then I asked about his breathing. He told me he sometimes felt slightly short of breath when walking uphill, but again, nothing dramatic. No chest pain, he said, no emergencies, nothing serious. But when we went deeper, he had 4 of the 8 signs I'm going to show you today. Signs he had been living with for over a year. Now, here's the important part. None of those symptoms, by themselves, confirmed a heart condition. And that's exactly why they're so often ignored. Because early on, when the heart begins to struggle or work less efficiently, the body doesn't always send loud, obvious alarms. Instead, it sends signals that overlap with everyday life. Fatigue, shortness of breath, mild swelling, changes in sleep, things people attribute to aging, routine, or stress. But according to major medical organizations, including the American Heart Association, these kinds of symptoms can be among the early signs that the heart is under strain, especially when they appear together or gradually worsen over time. That doesn't mean every symptom is a heart problem, but it does mean they deserve attention. Because the difference between catching something early and discovering it too late often comes down to recognizing these small changes when they first appear. So let's go through them, one by one. And the first sign is one that almost everyone has experienced at some point, but very few people take seriously. Sign number 1 is something so common that most people never question it. Shortness of breath during simple, everyday activities. I hear this all the time in my office. "Doctor, I just get a little winded going up the stairs. I'm a bit out of shape. I haven't been exercising like I used to." And in many cases, that's exactly what it is. But here's the question I always ask. Is this new or is it getting worse? Because when shortness of breath starts appearing during activities that used to feel easy, walking across a parking lot, climbing a single flight of stairs, carrying groceries, that's when I start paying closer attention. You see, your heart and lungs work together to deliver oxygen to your body. And when your heart isn't pumping as efficiently as it should, your body starts to notice it first during movement. It's like a pump that's no longer pushing water with the same pressure. At first, everything still works, but the flow isn't as strong. So when your muscles demand more oxygen, like during activity, the system struggles to keep up. And the result is that feeling of being out of breath sooner than expected. According to organizations like the American Heart Association, shortness of breath, especially during physical activity or when it's new or worsening, can be one of the early signs that the heart is under strain. Now, this doesn't mean that every episode of breathlessness is a heart problem. Far from it. But if you notice that your breathing has changed over time, that activities feel harder than they used to, or that you need to stop and catch your breath more often, that's not something to simply ignore. One simple habit I recommend to my patients: pay attention to patterns. Not just one bad day, but trends over weeks or months. Because your body is very good at adapting, even when something isn't quite right, and recognizing that change early can make all the difference. Sign number 2 is one of the most overlooked signals your body can give you: persistent fatigue, especially during normal daily activities. And I want you to pay close attention to this one, because almost everyone explains it away. Doctor, I'm just getting older. I didn't sleep well. I've been busy lately. And again, sometimes that's true. But here's where it becomes important: when that tiredness starts showing up during things that never used to drain you. Simple routines, like taking a shower, walking through the house, going to the store, suddenly feel heavier. You finish them, and you feel like you need to sit down, not just once, but regularly. That's when I start asking deeper questions, because your heart plays a central role in delivering oxygen and nutrients to every part of your body. And when it's not working as efficiently as it should, your muscles and organs don't get the energy supply they're used to. Think of it like this: imagine your body as a city, and your heart as the main power plant. If that power plant starts producing less energy, the city doesn't shut down immediately. The lights still work, the systems still run, but everything becomes slower, less efficient. That's exactly how fatigue related to heart function often begins: subtle, gradual, easy to normalize. According to the American Heart Association, unusual fatigue and reduced ability to perform routine activities can be early signs that the heart may not be pumping as effectively as it should. Now again, this does not mean every case of fatigue is related to the heart. Fatigue has many possible causes, but when it's new, persistent, or clearly different from your normal baseline, it deserves attention. One simple habit I recommend: start noticing how your energy compares to a few months ago, not just yesterday, because the body doesn't change overnight. It changes gradually, and those gradual changes are often where the earliest signs appear. Now, the next sign is one you can actually see with your own eyes, if you know what to look for. Sign number 3 is something you can often see before you ever feel something is wrong: swelling in the feet, ankles, or lower legs. And almost every patient I've seen with this says the same thing: Doctor, I was just on my feet all day. It's the heat. It happens sometimes. And they're right. Occasional swelling can be completely normal. But here's the difference I look for: is it happening frequently? Is it worsening over time? And does it show up even on days when you haven't been particularly active? Because when swelling becomes consistent, especially around the ankles and feet, it can be a sign that your body is having trouble managing fluid properly. And your heart plays a major role in that system. You see, your circulatory system is constantly moving fluid throughout your body. When the heart is pumping efficiently, that fluid keeps flowing in a balanced way. But when the heart isn't keeping up as well as it should, fluid can begin to accumulate, especially in the lowest parts of the body. Gravity does the rest. That's why the feet and ankles are often the first place this shows up. I explain it to my patients like this: imagine a highway system where traffic is moving smoothly. Now imagine that traffic starts slowing down. Not stopping completely, just slowing. Cars begin to pile up, especially at the far ends of the road. That buildup is similar to how fluid can accumulate when circulation becomes less efficient. According to organizations like the American Heart Association, swelling in the lower extremities, what we call edema, can be one of the signs that the heart is under strain, particularly when it appears alongside symptoms like fatigue or shortness of breath. Now, it's very important to say this clearly: not all swelling is related to the heart. There are many possible causes, but when it becomes persistent, symmetrical, or clearly progressive, it's something that deserves attention. One simple habit I recommend: at the end of the day, take a moment to look at your ankles. Notice if your socks leave deeper marks than they used to, or if your shoes feel tighter without explanation, because these small visual changes are often the body's way of telling you something has shifted. Now, the next sign is one that many people only notice when they try to sleep. Sign number 4 is one that often shows up when everything is quiet. At night, when you lie down, and your body finally slows. And this is where many people first notice something feels different. I've had patients tell me, Doctor, I feel like I breathe better when I'm sitting up. I've started using 2 or 3 pillows to sleep. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night just to catch my breath. Now, there are many reasons why sleep can be disrupted, but when breathing becomes more difficult, specifically when lying flat, that's something I take seriously, because when you lie down, the way fluid is distributed in your body changes. During the day, gravity helps keep fluid lower in your legs, but at night, when you're flat, that fluid can shift back toward your chest area. And if the heart isn't handling circulation as efficiently as it should, that shift can make breathing feel heavier. I often explain it like this. Imagine carrying weight in a backpack all day. When you're standing, the weight sits lower on your body, but if that weight suddenly shifts toward your chest, it becomes harder to expand your lungs comfortably. That's similar to what some patients experience. According to the American Heart Association, difficulty breathing when lying down or waking up suddenly short of breath at night can be a sign that the heart may be struggling to manage fluid effectively. Now again, this doesn't mean every night of poor sleep is a heart issue, but if you notice that, you need more pillows than before, you avoid lying completely flat, or you wake up feeling short of breath, especially if this is new or getting worse, that's not something to ignore. One simple thing I tell my patients, pay attention to changes in your sleep position, because your body will naturally adjust to make breathing easier, sometimes before you consciously realize something is wrong, and those adjustments can reveal more than you think. Now, before we move on, I want to ask you something directly. How many of these signs have you recognized so far? Even one, maybe the shortness of breath, the fatigue, or the swelling in your ankles. If you've noticed any of them, either in yourself or in someone close to you, go down to the comments right now and type the word yes. Just that, because I read every single comment on this channel, and more importantly, it helps more people see this information, people who might be experiencing the same signs and don't yet understand what they could mean. If this video is helping you, take 1 second and tap the like button. It may seem small, but it tells YouTube to share this with others who need to see it. Alright, now, the next sign is one that many people feel, but almost always blame on stress, caffeine, or just a long day. Sign number 5 is one that people often feel very clearly, but almost never take seriously. A sensation that your heart is racing, fluttering, skipping, or beating irregularly. And when I ask patients about this, I hear things like, "Doctor, it was probably just coffee. I was a little anxious that day. It went away after a few minutes." And again, sometimes that's exactly what it is. But here's where it becomes important. When those sensations start happening more often, lasting longer, or appearing without a clear trigger. Because your heartbeat is normally very well regulated, even though you don't feel it most of the time, your heart is following a steady, coordinated rhythm. But when that rhythm changes, whether it becomes faster, irregular, or feels like it's skipping beats, that's something your body notices immediately. I explain it like this. Imagine a drummer keeping a steady beat. Everything flows smoothly, predictable, controlled. Now imagine that rhythm suddenly becomes uneven. Faster here, slower there, missing beats. That disruption is similar to what happens when your heart's rhythm is not perfectly coordinated. According to the American Heart Association, palpitations or irregular heartbeats can sometimes be related to changes in heart rhythm, what we call arrhythmias, which in certain situations may be linked to underlying heart conditions. Now, it's very important to say this clearly. Not every palpitation is dangerous. In fact, many are completely harmless. But when you start noticing a pattern, especially if these episodes are becoming more frequent or are accompanied by symptoms like dizziness, shortness of breath, or fatigue, that's when it deserves medical attention. One simple habit I recommend: don't just dismiss it, observe it. When it happens, take note. What were you doing? How long did it last? Did anything else happen at the same time? Because patterns are what turn a vague symptom into something a doctor can properly evaluate. Now, the next sign is one that people often brush off in seconds, but can reveal more than they realize. Sign number 6 is one of the quickest symptoms people experience, and one of the fastest they ignore: a brief moment of dizziness, feeling lightheaded, or that sensation that you might faint. Most people brush it off immediately. I stood up too fast. I didn't eat. I'm just tired. And again, many times, that's exactly what it is. But here's when I start paying closer attention. When these episodes happen repeatedly, or when they appear without a clear reason, because your brain depends on a steady supply of blood and oxygen to function properly, and your heart plays a central role in maintaining that flow. When that flow becomes temporarily reduced, whether due to changes in rhythm, blood pressure, or circulation, your brain feels it almost instantly. That's when you get that sensation of dizziness or lightheadedness. I explain it to patients like this. Imagine turning on a light, and for a split second, it flickers. It doesn't go completely out, but something clearly interrupted the flow of electricity. That flicker is similar to what your body experiences during these moments. According to institutions like the National Health Service, dizziness, lightheadedness, or fainting can sometimes be associated with cardiovascular issues, especially when they occur alongside other symptoms such as palpitations, shortness of breath, or fatigue. Now, it's very important to be clear. Dizziness has many possible causes: dehydration, low blood sugar, inner ear issues. But when it becomes frequent, unexplained, or appears together with other changes in your body, it should not be ignored. One simple habit I recommend: notice the context. Did it happen when you were standing still, walking, after feeling your heart race? Because those details help turn a moment that seems insignificant into a meaningful clue about what your body might be trying to tell you. Now, the next sign is one that many people assume is something harmless, but in certain situations can be one of the most important signals your body gives. Sign number 7 is the one most people think they understand: chest discomfort. But here's the problem. Most people are waiting for something dramatic, a sudden intense pain, something unmistakable, something that clearly feels like an emergency. And while that can happen, that's not always how it begins. In many cases, what people feel is much more subtle: a mild pressure, a tightness, a sense of heaviness in the chest. And when I ask patients about it, they often say, "I thought it was just indigestion. Maybe it was something I ate. I didn't think it was serious because it went away." And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not, because certain heart-related conditions don't always present as sharp pain. They can feel like pressure, squeezing, or discomfort that comes and goes. I often describe it like this: imagine someone placing a weight on your chest, not enough to stop you, but enough to make breathing feel slightly restricted or uncomfortable. That sensation, especially if it appears during physical effort or emotional stress, is something that should never be ignored. According to the Mayo Clinic and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, chest discomfort, whether described as pressure, tightness, or pain, can be associated with reduced blood flow to the heart in certain conditions. Now, I want to be very clear here. Not all chest discomfort is related to the heart. There are many possible causes, but when this sensation is new, recurrent, triggered by activity, or accompanied by other symptoms, it becomes much more important to evaluate. And there's one situation where you should not wait at all. If chest discomfort comes together with shortness of breath, cold sweat, nausea, dizziness, or pain spreading to the arm, back, neck, or jaw that may represent a medical emergency, in that case, seek immediate medical attention. Don't wait. Don't second guess, because when it comes to the heart, timing matters. Now, the final sign is one that many people don't even recognize as a symptom, but it often ties everything together. Sign number 8 is one of the most subtle and one of the most important: a gradual decline in your physical capacity. Not a single symptom, but a pattern. Things that used to feel normal no longer feel the same. Walking the same distance feels harder. Climbing stairs takes more effort. Activities you've done for years suddenly feel more demanding, and most people explain it in the same way: "I guess I'm just getting older. I'm not as active as I used to be." It's normal, and to a certain extent, yes, the body does change over time. But here's the key difference I always look for. Is this a slow, expected change, or does it feel like something has shifted more noticeably in a shorter period? Because when the heart is not working as efficiently as it should, the body often adapts quietly. It doesn't stop you. It just reduces your capacity. I explain it like this. Imagine your body as a car you've driven for years. Same roads, same routes. But over time, you start noticing the engine doesn't respond the same way. It still runs, but it struggles more on hills, takes longer to accelerate, and uses more effort to do the same work. That's how many patients describe this feeling. According to the American Heart Association, a reduced tolerance for physical activity, especially when combined with symptoms like fatigue or shortness of breath, can be an important sign that the heart may not be functioning as efficiently as before. Again, this doesn't mean every drop in performance is a heart issue, but when your body is clearly telling you this feels harder than it used to, that's something worth paying attention to. One simple habit I recommend: compare yourself to your own baseline, not to others. How did you feel 3 months ago, 6 months ago? Because your body doesn't lie. It adapts, it compensates, but it always leaves clues. And when you start connecting those clues, you begin to see the bigger picture. Now let's bring everything together. We've covered a lot today. 8 signs, 8 different ways your body may be trying to tell you something important. And I want to be very clear about one thing. None of these signs on their own automatically mean there is a serious heart problem. But when you start to notice patterns, when multiple signs appear together, or when something feels clearly different from your normal, that's when it matters. Because one of the hardest moments in medicine is sitting across from a patient who says, "I felt these things for months. I just didn't think they were important." Not because they didn't care, but because no one ever explained what those signs could mean. Now you know. And I want you to do one simple thing with this information. Tonight, or even right after this video, take a moment and reflect. How has your body been feeling lately? Your breathing, your energy, your sleep, your heartbeat. If something stands out, if something doesn't feel quite right, don't ignore it. You don't need to panic, but you do need to pay attention, because the earlier something is evaluated, the more options you have to protect your health. And in many cases, small changes, early awareness, and a simple medical check can make a significant difference over time. If this video helped you, share it with someone you care about, a family member, a friend, someone who might be experiencing these same signs without realizing it. And if you want more conversations like this, clear, practical, and focused on your health, make sure to subscribe. I'm Dr. Adrian Keller. Stay aware, stay proactive, and take care of your heart. I'll see you in the next video.